Please rise. Please be seated.
Morning, everyone. It's a bit brisk out there this morning. I thought, in fact, the piano had caught a bit of a cold and might be having a pause, and we might hear the organ today. But that's okay. Miss Hanson's gonna brave the elements and make sure the piano performs for our two hymns today. We had a piano performance lined up. I'm really looking forward to it. So we're just going to postpone it a week to make sure that things are running smoothly. So really excited for that. Our opening hymn today is "I Vow to Thee, My Country." It's up on the board. Please stand.
And all our paths are peace. It's a lovely line, that, in the lovely hymn. Good morning, all. My pleasure this morning to introduce a special guest, who is the president of OOMA. I'm going to let Ms. Sarah Milne, class grad of 89, got that right, speak for herself and explain to you why she's here this morning and tell you a little bit about OOMA. For my part, you know you're getting old when you're introducing a special guest that you once taught. That's how ancient I am. There we go. So without further ado, it's my pleasure to call Sarah Milne forward.
Hello, senior school and staff. Nice to see you all. I'm gonna get a little bit of, I'm gonna spread out a little bit here. My name is Sarah Milne, and I came to the school for 6 years. Today, I have a few things that I want to share with you. Now, because we don't have a piano, does that mean I have a couple extra minutes?
You've always got.
Oh, really? I'm sorry, all of you, I'm sorry. That means I'm going to talk more and more. When I walk into this chapel, I feel a sense of peace, I feel a sense of comfort, and I feel a sense of belonging. Still, today, the chapel taught me to take a moment in my day, to find peace every morning, to think about my goals ahead. When I was here, we came to chapel every morning. So one of the things that I learned from a different teacher but is along the same lines as chapel, is about breathing and taking that moment. So what I would like you all to do right now is sort of roll your shoulders, get some cricks and creaks out, sit up straight if you can. I know it's hard on these benches, but they also form good posture. I'd like you to close your eyes. Breathe in, hold on the inhale, and breathe out slowly. And breathe in again, and breathe out slowly. And breathe in again. Chapel for me is this sense of belonging, a sense of tradition. When I look at you, you're all familiar. Is it the uniforms? Is it that we're here in chapel? Or is it something more that I gained from being in school? I've got a little exercise that I'd like to do. We're going to see how it goes. You're going to have to sanitize on the way out. You've all sanitized on the way in. I'm going to give you each 4 pieces of wool. You might have to split one up. I'll come back with another one. So untie them. They're all kind of knotted together. So you have to untie them. Each person gets 1 piece of wool. So you have to hand them down. This is a bit risky this time. Stack you. I'd like you to think about what it is that makes you feel a sense of belonging. What is it? Can you share the room with yourself? Awesome. Good. Keep that. Share them all there. Is it just the fact that you exist that makes you belong? Is it when someone looks at you, acknowledges you, talks to you? Is it when you're part of something? Let's see how that goes. Let's see if we've got enough for everyone. So everyone's got 1 piece of string. I'd like you to tie your piece of string to the person's piece of string beside you. Any old knot, granny knot will do. You have extras. You're wonderful. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
So while you're doing that, I'm going to ask you to listen to me. One definition of belonging is having an affinity for a place or a situation. Today I would like to talk to you about what it means to belong in general, to be part of Queen Margaret's, and eventually to be part of the Old Margaretians Association, OOMA, the Overseas Margaretians Association. I first arrived at Queen Margaret's as a day student in grade 5. I was the second person in the classroom. The first person is now my longtime, very close friend. Lucy Maud Montgomery talks about kindred spirits when she writes about Anna Green Gables. Today in grade 5 terms, it would be BFF, I think is the appropriate term. No matter what, we belong to each other. My friend Hillary and I had a larger group of girls we hung out with. Our crew, if you will. Is that the cool term nowadays? No? What made us special friends? What makes you friends right now? Do you have the ability to control whether you belong to something? Do you have the ability to control whether you feel like you belong here? Is that your doing? Is it our doing? Is it Mr. Robertson's doing? Or is it partially within your control? Do you have the ability or the responsibility to help other people feel like they belong? So these are some of the things I'd like you to think about. I know they're big ideas, but I think you're mature enough to handle them. Susan Lieberman, a life coach, says, by building relations, we create a source of love, personal pride, and belonging that makes living in a chaotic world easier. So by her definition, when we make the effort to create connection with other people, we build relationships. We generate a sense of belonging for both ourselves and the people we connect with. So now I'd like you to think about what that means to you. I'm hoping Heather at the back knows how to start a yarn ball. Does everyone, one of the staff back there know how to start a yarn ball? I would like you to actually create a ball of yarn and wrap it all the way up, and maybe we'll send it back this way, and maybe it'll end at the back with the staff. Does that work? How about we keep it on one side, and we'll go this way, and then we'll go back up. Everyone good with that? In childhood, the foundation of emotional development and mental health is our connection to our family of origin. The people that we shared a home with, ate with, slept with. Our family's belief systems support the formation of your identity and your sense of belonging to a group. Now you find yourself sleeping with, eating with, and belonging to a new family, a new community, a new group. This is your tribe. OOMA was formed on June, excuse me, I've lost my spot. Here we go. On June 11th, 1927. I want to make sure I'm accurate. We had our first meeting. The objective of the association is to be a bond of fellowship between former members of the school and to help them carry out the school ideas of loyalty, self-discipline, and service. OOMA also took on communicating with alumni, produced an annual newsletter called The Link, and created a bursary for heritage students who would not otherwise be able to attend the school. I've actively been involved with OOMA for 15 years, and I witnessed another wonderful aspect of this association: the preservation of school history and traditions. The archives, as we now know them, are a very new addition to campus. Before we had a space, loyal alum took over, looked after memorabilia, and maintained the traditions that were here until there was a proper space for them. How are traditions connected to our sense of belonging? Traditions are a transmission of statements, beliefs, legends, and customs, passed from generation to generation. We just had one of our traditions here in Canada, Thanksgiving. Did the school do something? I know they used to do something, which was the handing of food. We couldn't do that this year. Did we do something else? Can anyone give me a tradition that happened in spite of COVID? Yes?
We're still collecting food, and at the end of the month, we're going to create a display of it in Rowan Tree Hall, and then it will be picked up to bring to the Couch and Basket Society.
So that tradition has had to be adjusted. It's had to evolve, but it's still a tradition. It's still something that lets us think about how grateful we are. Does that make sense to everyone? We have another tradition, and that tradition is the passing of heritage pins. So I would like to ask if Georgia Bond is here. Mom was at school when I was at school. Heritage pins are presented to students at Queen Margaret School who had a close relative from a different generation and attended the school. In recognizing our heritage pin recipients, we acknowledge that one of the greatest legacies that our school can claim is that we are a school of choice for families. In other words, the families that went here, students that went here, still feel attached to the school and honor the school enough to send our most valuable thing to the school, their children. Georgia and her family have a rich history at the school. Georgia's mother, Nicole, attended the school from 1983, graduating in 1988, and her aunt, Denise McDonald, attended QMS from 1986 until graduating in 1992. In addition, Georgia's cousins are now attending QMS. Some of them you may know: Charlie, Lauren, Quinn, and Bennett. Do you love having them here? No? So thank you for being here, second generation. There's your pin, congratulations. This tradition of legacy is so very, very important. Where is our yarn ball? Do we have it? Nice. Have we managed to keep going? Now, I'm not quite sure what we're going to do with this yarn ball yet. When we talk about traditions, I think they contribute to our sense of belonging. They help us feel like we're something part of something greater, something larger. Something that continues year after year after year after year. You belong because you participate in the tradition. Humans are a remarkable species. Whenever families and friends have lived in communities, they have adopted rituals or habits, behaviors that are routine. Chapel is one of them, choir is one of them. These traditions help us feel secure and stable in sometimes an imperfect, unstable world. I would like to thank you all for letting me come and speak to you. If we can keep the yarn ball going, can it get wrapped up? I might come help by the end. I'd like you to continue to think about traditions, what belonging means to you. I'd also like you to think about what your responsibility is in the sense of belonging. As members of the school, I do feel we have responsibility to each other to help create an environment where we each feel safe and accepted and like we belong. Today, you are the current students. You represent 100 years of Queen Margaret School. We're getting ready to celebrate the centennial, and I think that's really, really exciting. Thank you, everyone, for listening to me and continuing to make the yarn ball. We're going to create something with it. I'm not sure what.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Milne. It was great to hear so many excellent questions about tradition and belonging for us to consider this morning, and also just to hear how strongly connected you are still to the chapel and to the school. So just like to say a huge thank you on behalf of us all. Can you just join me again in another round of applause for Mrs. Milne. And we are going to finish with by singing Amazing Grace. It's number 2 in your, is it number 2? Number 8. It's number 8 in our hymnals. Amazing Grace. Please stand.
But again, it's just a really valid message that you heard this morning, because I think a lot of times we get caught up in the present all the time, and dare I say it, speculating about the future as well. But sort of centering ourselves a little bit by where we came from and what got us here. You heard me talking at the beginning of the year about this fantastic building and about the founder's excitement when it was finally ready. And even checking out the bill, the $794 bill to the construction company to build this fabulous building. And here we are, all these years later, enjoying it and appreciating it and valuing it and looking for it to be a key part of our future. So just a really valid and important message. And of course, Mrs. Milne set us a big task. So instead of having to listen to me just sort of droning on up here at different times in the future, I'm now going to have to get creative and involve accoutrements, wool, or some sort of creative exercise. I'll work on that one. Going to leave you with a quote from The Great Gatsby. How many people have read The Great Gatsby? Yeah, great closing words of The Great Gatsby sum it up perfectly. And so we beat on, boats against the current, borne back ceaselessly into the past. Is that right, Mrs. Newsbaum? Close? That was pretty close. That notion of being borne back ceaselessly into the past. You know, we can forge ahead, but we also have to keep thinking about the past, learning from it and appreciating it. So, thank you all for your attention this morning. I'm going to invite us. Oops.
Sorry, just one more piece. I think we're going to hand over, as is another tradition, of OOMA handing over beyond ordinaries to the grade 12s. Great.
Thank you, Mr. Monroe. You did tell me that before chapel, but it went in one ear and out the other. So grade 12s, would you stay behind, please? And so I won't invite Mrs. Milne to leave, which I normally do, because you're going to be...
I'm going to stay.
You're staying? Okay.
Get rid of me.
Love it. Thanks, everybody.